An Orlando City Commissioner is under investigation tonight, accused of buying a facelift and other lavish items with an elderly woman's trust.
The city commissioner posting bond and driving off after she was arrested on elderly exploitation and fraud charges.
Commissioner Regina Hill turned herself in earlier this morning after a lawsuit alleged she exploited a 96-year-old woman for more than $100,000.
An Orlando commissioner is under a criminal investigation for allegedly taking advantage of a 96-year-old woman living in her district.
Commissioner Regina Hill is accused of spending more than $100,000 from the victim's savings. She is also being sued. WESH 2's Sanaika Brigadigas read through court documents to break down the accusations.
Regina Hill, a Florida city commissioner, was arrested in connection with the theft of over $100,000 from a 96-year-old woman to pay for a facelift, dental surgery, and hotel rooms, among other expenses, according to police and court documents. A bit of a backstory on Regina. She was born in Tavares, Florida, and grew up in the Paramore area of Orlando and was a nurse by profession, as well as a U.S. Navy veteran. However, she has recently been in the news for allegations of exploiting an elderly woman, which has led to her suspension and indictment on charges related to elderly exploitation, identity fraud, and mortgage fraud. But this wasn't the first bit of controversy Hill faced based on her behavior. Prior to these allegations, she managed to rack up over 20 arrests before being appointed to office, and even caused a firefighter to lose his job over her reckless behavior.
An Orlando firefighter gets his job back. Joshua Granata was fired 2 years ago after recording audio during a medical incident.
Now, that incident involved Orlando City Commissioner Regina Hill. Today, a federal mediator ruled Granata should not have lost his job. News 6's Eric Sandoval is live in Orlando for us tonight. So, Eric, what is Granata saying about this?
Well, first of all, Matt, that federal mediator not only said that he needs to return to the job, he also ordered the city to pay him back pay for the last 2 years. Now, Granata didn't want to talk about this tonight, but the woman who he was tending to that night, City Commissioner Regina Hill, told us that she's very upset.
It's almost like a double slap in the face.
Orlando City Commissioner Regina Hill says a federal mediator made the wrong decision today. Fire investigators say it was August 2017 when Orlando firefighter Joshua Granata responded to the Doubletree Hotel near Universal Studios. They say he and his colleagues found the commissioner on the floor of a penthouse suite with empty liquor bottles in the room. They say she became belligerent, and that's when Granata says he decided to record the audio on his cell phone.
Recently, in 2021, the Orlando City Commissioner caught wind of an elderly woman who suffers from cognitive disabilities living in what most would consider deplorable conditions in her community. But within a month of contacting her, Hill had power of attorney prepared for the now 96-year-old woman, enabling Hill complete control over the woman's financial affairs. Over the next 2 years, she helped herself to more than $100,000 of the woman's savings, treating herself to a facelift, vitamin IV infusions, and even a Miami getaway for New Year's.
Mrs. Hill effectively betrayed the trust of her community by taking advantage of a 96-year-old elderly citizen, which is one of the most vulnerable in that community. A victim who was the last of her family in the area was manipulated and lied to. Her finances and personal information misused and abused for Hill's personal benefit.
The FDLE's affidavit states Hill first got involved with the victim in 2021 after she learned the woman was living in bad conditions. It alleges Hill used fake signatures to take over as the victim's power of attorney.
Commissioner Hill is accused of taking advantage of a 96-year-old woman, spending tens of thousands of dollars of her money on things like rental cars, clothing, and a vacation. Investigative reporter Shannon Butler joins us live in studio with more on this breaking state investigation. Shannon?
Well, this affidavit shows that Commissioner Regina Hill has been under an FDLE investigation for more than a year, accused of misconduct. The allegations in this paperwork include taking money from a 96-year-old constituent. The list of purchases spelled out right here include a facelift, perfume, a hotel stay in Miami, car insurance, and dental surgery. The withdrawals from the woman's account total more than $100,000. According to these documents, Hill and the 96-year-old woman had no prior relationship. It started when Hill became aware that the woman was living in deplorable conditions back in 2021, and it was her former aide who spoke to investigators. Here, we are just looking at the finances, and according to the FDLE investigator, the elderly woman had more than $164,000 in the bank, but now $100,000 of it gone. And charges on her credit card, they say, are now at nearly 10 grand. The woman told investigators that she didn't give Hill permission to use that money, but Hill is not quoted in these documents. But she told us on the phone today the allegations are false.
Regina Hill pleaded not guilty to 7 felony counts following her arrest by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. But a special election will take place upon her suspension, and the winner will fill the District 5 seat until Hill's case is resolved or her term ends. If convicted, Hill faces a maximum sentence of 180 years in prison.
They say if Commissioner Hill is in fact suspended, they would be required by city charter to call for a special election to elect a temporary replacement.
Regina Hill faces essentially what's a life sentence, up to 180 years in prison if convicted on all 7 felony charges. They're detailed here in these court documents. The accusations include exploitation of an elderly person and several counts of fraud.
Your name, ma'am?
Regina Hill.
During a first appearance from jail yesterday, a judge placed restrictions on the $40,000 bond for Orlando Commissioner Regina Hill. She's been ordered to stay away from a 96-year-old woman who she's accused of defrauding.
Mrs. Hill effectively betrayed the trust of her community by taking advantage of a 96-year-old elderly citizen, which is one of the most vulnerable in that community.
What some may not know is that Regina Hill's case is not unique, nor was it unexpected. Prior to her being elected to her position, Hill had been arrested over 20 times, and her constituents were well aware of her criminal history. But her story sounds oddly similar to a certain supermayor from Dalton, Illinois.
A fresh face and name is elected to the Orlando City Commission. Regina Hill captured a little more than 54% against Juan Lynham. Hill's been arrested at least 21 times, but she's turned her life around and vows to do the same for District 5.
Dalton residents, I am reporting for duty.
Henyard, now the first woman and the youngest person to ever be elected mayor of the South Suburb.
Tiffany didn't just shatter that ceiling. She brought it all the way down.
Tell me your thoughts below. Should people not be elected to positions of power if they have a criminal past? Or should we continue to look past previous indiscretions and consider Regina Hill and Tiffany Henyard as exceptions? I'm the Commentary King, and I'll see you around.